All right, Moon Knight. Episode 1 of Moon Knight debuted on Disney Plus. Should I talk, or do you want me to start? Or do you want you start, Steve? What do you think of Moon
Is it?
Knight?
Do you talk? Do I?
Yeah,
It is Oscar Isaac, so it's only fitting.
good Oscar Isaac reference. Yeah. Who
Um,
starts? Do I start?
you can start.
I thought it was great.
Okay.
What did you think?
I also thought it was great.
Okay.
There's definitely some nits to pick,
Yes.
but overall, I thought they nailed it. I thought they nailed, um, uh, they kept it close enough to source material, but also made it accessible. Is what I'm kind of thinking, if that makes any sense. Yes, there'll be the comics purists that are like, well, Stephen Grant was supposed to be the billionaire philanthropist playboy Tony
Oh, is
Stark.
that true?
Yeah,
Oh,
so
I
so
don't know that.
in comics, he's the Batman. He's the Bruce Wayne.
Okay.
In this, he definitively is not the Bruce Wayne.
Very not Bruce Wayne.
um, but I thought they did a very good job of setting up a series where we from the bat know something is off, and then slowly start to kind of peel the onion and
Yes.
see exactly what is going on.
Yes, I really liked. Again, I don't know the source material as much as you do. I know bits and pieces about the
Yeah.
character. That's about it. So I really liked that we didn't know what was going on, and he didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
So we are discovering it as he's discovering it. I feel like we don't normally get that. I guess that's a similar something I liked about the Batman, where I said like you're on the journey with Batman
Right.
the whole time. You don't know what he doesn't know. Similar to this, it gets you invested in the character quite a bit, because you're both looking for the same answers. So when he finds something in his apartment, you are equally as invested in. He finds that key or whatever in his apartment. You're equally as invested in what that is and what it means as he is. I like that aspect of it a lot. I really liked that it was not directly tied to any other MCU thing at all. This is like ground level character building. The MCU has become a lot of it, I should say, a lot of the MCU, like you mentioned Multiverse of Madness earlier, Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. That feels like a movie that is contingent on you knowing so much else about the Marvel universe, and depends on you knowing so much about it to care about it, to understand the gravity of it. And those of us that do will love it, and those of us that don't might be like, it was okay, I didn't really understand it. And that's a problem that I think that's a problem that the MCU has going forward. Like they've gotten this high, and to me they're kind of plateauing a little bit as far as like how they're bringing in new people.
Right.
And we've talked about this before. Like, is this going to be a problem for them going on? Like, how to attract new people that don't feel like watching 25 movies to understand what's going on? This is a show, at least from episode 1, this is a show you could watch without having seen any other show, any other movie, and just enjoy it, which is great, which I don't think is the case for any of the other Disney Plus shows. Certainly not WandaVision.
No.
Certainly not WandaVision. Certainly not Captain America Winter Soldier or Falcon Winter Soldier. Definitely not Loki.
Right.
And maybe Hawkeye, because it's so closely on Kate Bishop.
Right. It's closely on Kate, and it's tight and contained.
Yes.
So to a degree, but there's a lot of references.
They still make a lot of Avengers references, a lot of Black Widow references, and things that
Right. Like think about it. In that
game references.
Right. You're one of the big moments in it. Him standing in front of the plaque. Does that hit if you don't see any, or if you've never seen an Avengers movie? No way.
No, because so much of it is about like his love for Natasha.
Yep.
And the sisters, Yelena's love for Natasha.
Yep.
And if you don't know who Natasha is, then you do not care.
Yep.
Or you don't know. Like, sometimes I feel like the MCU is getting like lazy kind of, and like knowing that we know that, so they don't have to do like the job of setting everything up for new viewers.
Yeah.
So like they're banking on the fact that we know these things. So it was refreshing to see Moon Knight in a way that's like, oh, they're telling us everything. We don't have to bring anything to this. Like it's not you can enjoy the show without having done your homework.
Yeah.
So that was like very a breath of fresh air to me. The other thing I need to say, I feel like I don't know that this show would be as good. Sorry, I mean I'm talking about we've only seen one episode,
Right.
but it really seems like it would not have worked if Oscar Isaac wasn't a tremendous actor.
Yes.
I think
100%.
a lot of it is contingent on him being really, really committed and really, really great at what he's doing. In the hands of a lesser actor, this would have been like cheesy, funny, and like there are funny parts, but like that accent that he's doing is wild. It's very, I mean, he's very good at it, but it's like a choice, for sure. And I didn't realize the importance of that choice until we see Mark Spector or start hearing him like, oh, then
just
the
a
other
dude
personality,
from Chicago.
the other personality is going to have a different voice. And that's why Stephen Grant's accent makes so much sense and is so important, that it has a jarring, different everything about it.
Now, the insanity of that, I've read online or discerned online, whether or not it was a conscious choice. Apparently, that accent, the British accent that he puts on for Grant, is very much a like a stereotypical what a American would come up with for a full blown British accent.
Oh, really?
Or English accent, like London accent.
Okay.
And like I saw a thread somewhere on that, like people from England that were like, yeah, that there are people that sound like that, but that's like the over the top stereotypical. Like it's the accent that would be brought forth by someone who was an American that was trying to do
a British accent.
Yeah. So.
Well, that's cool.
That's it's like, is that intentional, or is that just what he came up with? Or, but either way, Oscar Isaac, you watch that mirror scene at the end, and body language and everything else is just completely different, and he's literally acting against himself. And how you do that, I do not know.
Yeah, that was great. That scene at the end of the bathroom was tremendous. Yeah, I don't know. It was really great. I really liked Ethan Hawke also, while we're talking about actors and actresses that we liked. I want to know more about his character, because it seems like if you lead a cult or whatever he is doing, is the whole point of the cult to judge people and maybe you die? Like, it seems like there's got to be more to it than that. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah,
but maybe just people are fascinated to learn whether or not they're actually a good person. Like, I guess that could be enough. But it seems like there has to be some other like benefit to being a part of that cult other than maybe dying someday.
You get some killer sandals.
Yeah, literally killer sandals.
Talk about disconcerting opening scenes.
Yeah, I like that a lot. That set a tone.
Oh, it did, and I was actually uncomfortable. Like watching that, I'm like, I think subconsciously, like my toes were flexing. I'm just like, oh God, don't do that. Don't do. Oh, he did it.
Yeah, that was tough, man. That was tough.
But speaking of that, you talk about Oscar Isaac and his acting. That dinner scene, the lack of dinner scene.
Yes, when he was at the restaurant. Yeah.
The emotion in that, like. I was literally sitting here watching it and just like feeling dejected for him.
Yeah.
Like what he was mentally going through. It was just like incredible.
Yeah. He was great. He was just great all around. It was like the scenes of him like shorting out, right before he like passes out.
Right.
Like, nah, like even that was great, and that's, that's what I mean. Like in the hands of a lesser actor, it could have seemed funny or silly the way that they were passing out. I liked there was a bit of brutality to it.
Yeah.
In a way that we haven't seen in a lot, like the way he's like just pummeling that monster at the end. Not a werewolf, which we thought was going to be a werewolf. We thought was retroactively Werewolf by Night, but nope, just an Egyptian dog monster. Yep. But like he wakes up in the truck and he's got a gun and there's just a dead guy with a cupcake smashed on his face that falls out of the truck. I was like, that's pretty dark for the MCU. Like, that's cool. Like,
well, and then I mean, even when he wakes up in the Alps and his whole face is just disfigured, cracks his own jaw back into place.
Yeah,
and then the first scene where Mark snaps in and shows up, and he snaps back to Steven, and his hands are just bloody as all get out, and just like, oh, something big happened.
Yeah, I know, it's true. You don't see that much blood in the MCU because it's PG-13 all the time. So, I mean, this clearly wasn't Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Punisher level of brutality, but it was a step in that direction, which I liked quite a bit. I remember seeing that they were, I think I read, or we talked about an article about saying Moon Knight was going to be more brutal.
I think Feige actually came out and said that.
Yeah. And for the MCU so far, based on one episode, that is true. We'll have to see how far they go. Right before I got online to do this podcast with you, I heard somebody say that they saw somebody theorize, so like, it's removed information, that the town that he wakes up in the Swiss Alps or whatever is actually Latveria, or the country is actually Latveria, Doctor Doom's country. I didn't really see any. I thought that was interesting, so I'm bringing it up. I didn't really see anything that indicated that. At the very least, to me, that seems like something that's like, oh, like Marvel can be like, oh yeah, it was Latveria the whole time, but like if it works out later, then they can say that it was, and if not, it's not. But like, I didn't really see anything. It didn't really look like how I picture Latveria. I picture Latveria more like bleak, less
less Sound of Music-y.
Flowers and less Sound of Music-y, more Transylvania-y.
Yeah, I could see that.
But that's just me. I could be wrong. So
I am curious who Layla is.
Yeah,
because the only Layla I know from Marvel is Layla Miller from House of M.
I don't know if I know.
She was the girl, the little girl.
Oh, okay.
And she ultimately, like a couple books down the road and whatever, she grows up and she's a normal human mutant, whatever. But like, that's the only Layla I can even think of, and I can't imagine that being her. So I'm curious what they're doing there.
I thought that it could be like a sister or something, like a family.
Well, like in the books, Marlene is always his, love interest / whatever.
Yeah.
So
that's why I thought that it was more of a sisterly thing.
Yeah.
Someone that clearly cares about him, and he keeps leaving voicemails for his mom. His mom's not actually there, so like, what's going on?
Yeah, it's one of those where I think, like, I was thinking about that after, and it's like, that's definitely a phone number that that Spectre like left around so that Grant would, like, when the Grant persona is out, that he's like, oh, I'll call mom.
Yeah.
It's a really weird something going on there.
Yeah. But like, there's an answering machine. He's leaving a message. So it's set up somehow. It's not like a disconnected number. So it's a number that works. Like, who is he calling? Who is he actually calling?
Yeah.
I feel like that's interesting to me. Because, like, if he just made up the persona of Stephen Grant, like you said, like, someone else must have set up this number.
Right.
Anyway, it's interesting. A little behind the scenes that I told you I read right before this podcast also about Moon Knight. Oscar Isaac has only signed for this 6-episode miniseries, has not signed a larger contract to appear as Moon Knight in any other Marvel or MCU property other than this miniseries.
Huh.
So it's possible that we're only going to get Moon Knight in this miniseries and we will not see him in a future Marvel movie. What do you think of that?
I mean, I would have expected him at least in Werewolf by Night.
Yeah.
But
me too. I think we both expected him in Werewolf by Night, but
that seems
maybe
odd.
not. Yeah, it seems odd that they wouldn't get him for at least one movie. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, just a
Like,
cameo somewhere even or something.
Yeah, because like we don't know what the next big team up movie is going to be, which I like because they're taking their time to build back up to like a big team up movie, which is great. So I mean that gives them time to re-sign Oscar Isaac.
Right.
But you know, this is a guy that I saw in at least one interview be very open about how he is done with Star Wars. He has no interest in going back to a franchise.
Yep.
So I was kind of surprised when he was cast as Moon Knight because of that interview that I saw where he was like, I don't want a Disney Plus show. I don't want a Star Wars Disney Plus show. I don't want to do sequels. Like, I'm done. I'm cashing in my chips and I'm done is the line I think I heard him say. I'm cashing in my chips.
Well, and it may be, you know, you see the script and the character you're playing and or
sure.
characters you're playing and it's like, well, okay, maybe this is an intriguing whatever. And Feige in the past has said that they don't want to, they're not wrapping these guys up long term anymore.
That's true. We talked about that.
Yeah.
We also talked about how Oscar Isaac said that playing Moon Knight was one of the biggest acting challenge of his career, which even from the first episode I can tell is I can see how that is accurate.
Oh yeah. And that's without them even bringing Lockley in, because in the comics there's 3 personalities.
Yeah. Well, we might get there. We got 6 episodes.
It's true.
So yeah, I guess it remains to be seen whether we see Moon Knight in anything else other than Moon Knight. But honestly, if we don't, I'm kind of excited about that. Like, it's kind of cool that they're giving us just a thing that exists as a thing that isn't connected to, that is part of the MCU by nature.
Yep.
But isn't an integral necessarily. It's just like a thing you can just watch and it's just great. You know what I mean? It's not gonna tease another thing, or you don't have to watch another thing. Like,
right, like this is happening in the Natural History Museum in London. Well, everything else is going down, but who knows? Like, it's just completely independent.
Yeah, I say that I think it's cool. I need to also say that I would, based on this one episode, I would love to see Moon Knight somehow interact with Spider-Man or whatever. You know, like that would be cool.
Spidey's usually that's where you're gonna end up seeing him as something. It's weird because he has supernatural powers, but he always ends up being street level, or usually ends up being street level. So it's a weird dichotomy.
Yeah, it's like a weird mix of the two extremes, but I don't know. I mean, I would love to see him in Avengers just because I like the initial excitement of those team up movies is seeing characters interact that have never interacted before, like the Guardians of the Galaxy when they meet Tony Stark and Doctor Strange and Spider-Man on that ship or whatever in Infinity War. Like, that's awesome. Like, that's the coolness. But when it becomes just that is when I'm just like, oh, okay, all right, give me some like actual character development here. Yeah. So if this story is just character development from Moon Knight, Oscar Isaac, and that's all we get, then fine. But yeah, I'd like to see him fight Deadpool or whatever, 2 years from now.
It'd be great.
Cool. Anyway, that's all I got for Moon Knight episode 1. Do you have anything else for All Right Moon Knight?
No, I think it's a solid wrap.
All right. Well, that's all we got. Like Steve said earlier, if you like this, please physically like it on the podcast app that you are listening to it on. Like us on YouTube. You can like us on Twitch. Follow us on all those things. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and all these things. And we record every Sunday night. Have we done a year yet? Has it been a year yet? When's our anniversary?
May something. Yeah.
May something.
Early May.
To a year. Getting close to a year. We haven't skipped a week.
Insanity.
Have we skipped a week? I don't think we've skipped a week.
We pushed a couple of weeks, but I don't think we've
pushed
skipped
it a day or two. I don't think we've skipped. That's insane. Insane.
That it is.
So anyway, like us and tell all your friends about us. And until next time, we'll see you in the multiverse.